In this edition of Tidbits and Tooltips, we are going to do a butane acetylene throwdown. I'm going to be comparing butane to my beloved acetylene. Hi, I'm Blair Anderson, artist in residence and owner of SilverWorks Studio and Gallery. In almost every beginner class I have ever taught, I get this question: can I silversmith with a handheld butane torch?
No!
I admit I've always been a real snob about this, but why mess with a weeny little butane torch when you can play with the big girl tools? Why not go with the real thing right away? You may have a few reasons. First, it's an investment. You may just be starting out and you want to test the waters first. Butane provides a cheaper option with less commitment. Also, it can be scary. You may be concerned with a larger tank of gas in your home, and butane seems safer. So I'm going to compare two butane torches to my beloved acetylene. And in the interest of a good challenge, I'm going to start with the first impressions right out of the box. Let's start with the TBT cooking torch. This is a creme brulee torch. It retails for about $17. So this is the kind of thing you use for cooking. Professional chef's torch. See, you have a little picture of a pizza on the box there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox this and we're going to just take a look. We'll open it up. Oh, nice pretty little silvery cute torch. All right, looks pretty basic. So that's the first one unboxed. This is the blazer. This is typically it's promoted as something that you can use for jewelry. So we're gonna open this up. This one retails for about $60. So I'm gonna open the box on this. And there we go, easy to pull out. And we got our instruction booklet here. And it's got a handy little stand in the box in case you want to just prop it up. Now these are both butane torches. One is obviously cheaper. What I want to compare is which one works for what we need. So I have a bottle of butane. Here we go. Now these are going to be loaded from the bottom. Most butane torches are. So I'm going to take my butane and we load it upside down like this. Well, that's a little scary, isn't it? Let's try our blazer. Same mechanism. Okay, that one feels like it's loading really easily. And they should feel cold. If you know you've got some butane in there, they're going to feel cold. Now, the difference in these are going to be the size of the flame. So let's turn this on. We'll unlock it. So it's got a locking mechanism here. We're going to unlock that. So the plus and minus, you might not see that there. That's going to determine the size of your flame. You can hear it and you can see the flame. All right. So this was not giving me a whole lot of flame, so I'm filling it a little bit more there, and it's not splashing over like it was before. There we go. So this one's a little harder to fill. It doesn't have as precise a little target for your filling, so that's kind of a little issue there. I'll turn this all the way to the end, the high end. When we turn it on, that's our flame. And I'm holding it with my thumb. The minute your thumb goes off, all right, now let's try this locking mechanism. If we lock it, and the flame will continue. All right, and then unlock. That's going to turn it off. So we're going to put that aside. Now let's ignite this one and see what we have. This one is a little different. You've got the dial up here. That's going to turn your gas on. You could hear it. There's the hiss, and you only have that one ignition for your thumb, and then it's running. Now if we want to turn it off, we just turn that dial down. That little dial right there is really handy already. I'm looking at this, and again, I've never used this, so already I'm seeing that this is pretty cool. You turn that on, you ignite that, and you're good to go. Now the difference in the flames, you see the size, we'll turn that one on. See the target of that one compared to this one. It's a little bit different size flame. So first impressions are, this one feels a little easier to use because of the dial. This one was easier to load your butane. But what I really care about is whether or not it's going to heat the metal properly. They promise to do roughly the 2300 degrees, fine for smaller work, but when you get into the larger fusion, reticulation, that's a problem. Acetylene gets up to 4000, so you see the difference in the degree. So we're going to heat up some metal and see what happens. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to do some annealing. So we're going to test each torch with a simple anneal. So if you remember, annealing is simply heating your metal until it gets to cherry red. That annealing process makes the metal malleable for us. So let's start with the little creme brulee torch and see what we've got. Move the lock and lock it up. Now let's see what it does. So remember, we want the colors to change to gold and then black, and then we need it to go to cherry red to actually be a proper anneal. So there's our gold. And there's sort of black. It's getting there. And there's our cherry red. We're coming up on that pretty good. So that's it right there. We're going to stop there. Unlock that. So we got it turned off. Now we're going to take that and quench it. And it looks pretty good. Got a little copper exposed there, but overall we have a nice matte finish, which is our visual indicator that we know it's annealed. So there's our matte finish. So I'm going to label this one. This is the creme brulee torch. So that's torch number 1. So there's our test for that. Not too bad. Now we're going to do an anneal with the blazer. Hear the gas, and then our little igniters here, real handy. A little bit bigger flame on this one. So let's see what happens. So there's our gold. And black. And we're coming up on our desired color there, the cherry red. And that's right there. Turn that off. And we'll quench this. Now it felt like that was about half the time. Okay, so that's going to be our difference. It's a little higher temperature, I think, is what it's giving us. Or maybe it's just even the fact that the flame is a little more targeted. but we've got the same result anneal-wise, it just was faster. Okay, and that is the blazer. Now the last one, we're gonna go with the real deal, acetylene torch. It's my torch here. We got it already turned on, and we're gonna ignite that. Okay, so here is a medium flame for our acetylene. Now I'm gonna go down on the metal. Gold, black, cherry red. All right, so there's a bit of a difference in timing. So the difference I'm seeing here is our anneal is a little bit, when we quench it, it's giving me a much cleaner anneal on this one. So that's my acetylene. It also was probably a third of the time, I think. The time it took was less. So that's the acetylene. All right. So we've annealed all these. The testers show that they're properly annealed. The difference that I experienced was timing. All right, so let's try doing some actual soldering this time. I'm gonna take some 14 gauge wire and we're gonna go to the bench and go ahead and solder. Now the 14 gauge is up on the wall here. That's what I'm gonna be using. And we're gonna just make a little ring, okay? Now first is anneal. We're gonna try to be fair in comparison here. So medium flame, gold, black, and there's our cherry red. Okay. And there's our cherry red there. And there's our cherry red there. All right, so all of those are annealed. Now let's do some soldering. That's the real true test, is if we can solder or not. So of my little wire here, I'm gonna make a ring, bend these ends together. I've already filed with a flat file to make sure the ends are nice and clean and straight. Now for this, I'm gonna have to put on my optivisor. Now we're gonna just do a simple solder joint to test out these torches. So I'm using easy solder from sheet form. Put it on my block. And I'm putting my solder joint on top of that solder. Gonna give it some flux. All right, I'm focusing on my solder joint now. We're gonna see how long it takes this to solder. And there it goes. And there she goes. All right. And there she goes. All right. So, having loved my acetylene torch for ages and ages, I could be persuaded a little bit towards the butane. But there's one final test that I want to try that I use all the time. And I have a feeling the butane is not going to live up to that challenge. Now reticulation is simply creating a texture using the torch, but it does take a little more heat and a little more time. Okay, so reticulation, we want to get this hot enough that it creates a molten layer. So you can see that's getting red right away. And there's our molten, and we're reticulating already. Boom, boom. So that's going to be the major difference. If you're going to go really hot, you need acetylene. Okay, now we're getting molten. Go! So when you reticulate, you heat till it's wet, and then you lift to contract it. And the blazer is going to be able to do a little bit of reticulation. Yep, there we go. Go! So you can achieve it, it's just going to take a really long time to get something that you're satisfied with, but you can get there. So this little guy, he's cool for soldering, but I'm not sure we're going to get here for reticulation. Yeah, this is taking a little too long, so I'm going to stop there with this one. Okay, of our 3 testers, let's put them in order. There's the creme brulee, and here's our blazer, and here's our acetylene. So see the difference that we're getting. The acetylene is a lot hotter. You're able to get a texture much sooner, and that gives you more flexibility and option to be able to accomplish what you want there. But when it comes to doing basic solder joins, they're all doable. But if you're at home and you're just going to want to do some very simple little projects, you can be making rings, you can be making chain, you can be doing jump rings. I'm convinced that you could even do that with a little creme brulee torch. I'd say if you can spend a little extra money on the blazer, that's probably going to be your best option for the butane. This is cute and it's fun and it's going to be great for my creme brulee later. But the blazer, if you're at home and you don't want to go acetylene, this is probably, this or one of the family, in the family of the blazers, this is the torch you're going to want to use at home. So yeah, not bad. I'm convinced. Okay, couldn't sleep last night. I was warming up to the blazer, but then I started thinking about the things I couldn't do with it. I love using reticulation in pieces like this and like this. And there's other stuff that would be really hard, like this cuff bracelet, or this bracelet made with heavy low dome, or other larger work. And don't even think about trying charcoal casting. Maybe someday I'll want to pour ingots. I read somewhere, we shape our tools, then our tools shape us. Maybe it's just me. I don't want my creativity to be limited by the torch I have. Okay, breakfast. Woo! It even works for creme brulee. Oops. Yes! Too much? Right tool for the job. Please subscribe to my channel and watch for more tidbits and tool tips. Bye for now. Now, can I put my clothes back on?
That's going in the video.